right now from KTAB News, your local election headquarters. This is Big Country Politics.
It's great to be here for Big Country Politics. I'm Travis Ruiz, and KTAB News is your local election headquarters. Let's get started with election results. We begin with the primary race to be the next governor of Texas. First, we go to the Republicans. This was an 8-person race, but that one sees incumbent Governor Greg Abbott handily winning. Abbott taking 66% of those votes. Coming in second, Allen West. All right, let's go to the Democrats. Who is Governor Abbott going to face in the general election? It's looking not too bad for Beto O'Rourke, 91% taking that nomination. Coming in second, Joy Diaz with 3%. All right, checking in now on those numbers from the race for lieutenant governor. Dan Patrick winning the Republican primary to move forward to the November general election. Patrick takes 77% of the vote. Now to the Democrats in the race for LT governor. Mike Collier leads the way there for 42%, but not enough to seal that Democratic confirmation. That moves to a runoff. Now to another highly contentious race in the Lone Star State, Attorney General. This race putting incumbent Ken Paxton in the hot seat, and it was a crowded race on both sides. Let's start with those Republicans. While Paxton faced 3 Republican challengers, he wins with 43%. George P. Bush with 23%. That race going to a runoff because neither getting to 50%. On the Democratic ticket, similar results. Rochelle Garza leading with 43% over Joe Jowowski with 23%. This race also going to a runoff. Now to the race for land commissioner. First, the GOP side, Don Buckingham, 42% of the vote. Buckingham, before redistricting, representing Abilene in the state Senate. This one goes to a runoff with Tim Wesley. And for the Dems, Sandra Martinez and Jay Kleberg are off to a runoff. All right, right now we're going to switch to the race for Texas Ag Commissioner. Incumbent Sid Miller easily moving forward with 58% of the votes. And on the Democratic side, Susan Hayes takes this with 83% of the vote. All right, now this, of course, now goes to the November election. All right, closer to home, we now go to the race for Taylor County Judge. The county judge presides over the commissioner's court as well as misdemeanor, criminal, and civil cases. The county judge is responsible for the county government functions. Now, this is the position replacing longtime county judge Downing Bowles right there on your screen. Bowles retiring from his position at the end of the term. He was first elected to this position back in 2010. Let's go to those boards. Taylor County Assistant District Attorney, felony prosecutor Phil Crowley winning this race with 83% of the votes. His opponent, Scott Leibowitz, an Air Force veteran, coming in with 17% of the votes. This position only being battled on the GOP side this go around, so therefore Crowley will carry through that November race. He says he's excited to start as the next county judge next year. He thanked his opponent as those results came in.
So I was actually out campaigning till 7 p.m. Tonight. I was at Zion Lutheran waving a sign. You know, we'll just see how it turns out. You know, I'm thankful for him running, and I'm thankful for the people who went out and voted for him for participating in the process. But we'll just see how it ends up tonight.
And as we mentioned, with no Democratic challenger for judge in November, Crowley will take over as judge in 2023 once current Judge Downing Bowles completes his term at the end of this year. Retired Air Force veteran Scott Leibowitz was running for that office. He congratulated Crowley for his victory.
The county's still going to be in good hands. I think we had a lot of the same ideas, and as long as we both were concerned with making ensuring that the county was going to move forward. So I think it'll all work out in the end.
Leibowitz says he believes that he and Crowley ran a fair and amicable race. He says the plan to have lunch soon as a show of goodwill and strong continued leadership for the county. And another race right here at home, that's the race for Texas State House of Reps, District 71. This is the seat held currently by Stan Lambert. It covers much of the Big Country, including Abilene. Lambert currently in his 4th term. Let's go ahead and look at those results. Lambert faced 27-year-old Army veteran Samuel Weatherby of Abilene. Lambert taking this race with 76% of the votes. Weatherby in with 24%. Now, we spoke with Lambert, who says that he's looking forward to that November election.
I'm very honored and humbled to to have the endorsement of my friends and neighbors and look forward to the general election in November, where I'll seek to try to continue to represent House District 71.
As for that November election, Lambert will now face Democratic candidate Linda Goolsbee, and that's in that November election. Goolsbee ran unopposed on the Democratic ticket. Several other races happening across the big country in the heartland. Let's go first to Brown County, a 4-person race. Shane Britton taking 38%. This now moves to a runoff. Next, we're going to go to Nolan County. Whitley May becomes the county judge with 73% over Elizabeth Vera. Next, we go to Eastland County Judge. David Holm with 64% becomes that county judge. Next, Eastland County Sheriff Jason Weger with 71% over Rusty Schrader. All right, now to Shackelford County. That judge, John Viertel with 58%, no Democratic challengers there, so he becomes the judge. Next, Mitchell County, Mike Redwine with 37% of those votes, so this goes to a runoff. Callahan County sees a new judge with Nikki Harrell with 53% of the vote, just narrowly escaping that 53%, leading by 125 votes. Fisher County Judge Ken Holt, 68%. He escapes a runoff there. All right, now to Knox County up north. Stan Wojak with 70% of the votes, beating out Jerry Hart. Now we've got all of those results on our website, bigcountryhomepage.com. You can find them there. All right, in addition to a crazy Tuesday night this last week, President Joe Biden delivered his first State of the Union address, speaking on both sides, facing Americans here at home and the conflict in Ukraine. Washington correspondent Rashad Hudson joins us with more.
Good evening. In the President's State of the Union address, he outlined plans to tackle inflation, move beyond the pandemic, and promised to punish Russia for invading Ukraine.
Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
As President Joe Biden delivers his first State of the Union address, and the backdrop is Ukraine fighting for its freedom.
Everyone from students to retirees to teachers turned soldiers defending their homeland.
The president is vowing to make Vladimir Putin pay a price for Russia's invasion. And tonight he announced the U.S. is closing its airspace to Russian planes.
Putin is now isolated from the world more than he has ever been.
As a sign that the country is moving away from the pandemic, only a handful of lawmakers wore masks in the House chamber. The president says the country is getting closer to moving beyond the pandemic.
Because of the progress we've made, because of your resilience and the tools that we have been provided by this Congress, tonight I can say we're moving forward safely back to more normal routines.
The president acknowledged that inflation is a problem for most Americans.
I get it. That's why my top priority is getting prices under control.
He says the answer is to make more goods in America. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds delivered the Republican response and criticized the Biden administration's handling of rising prices. And tomorrow, the Biden administration will take their message on the road with trips to North Carolina and Wisconsin. Reporting in Washington, Rashad Hudson, back to you.
All right, thank you, Rashad. And keeping our eye on Congress right now, Congressman Jody Arrington, who I spoke with, says that he is not impressed with President Joe Biden's State of the Union. Arrington's main concern, he says, is the safety and protection of the American people, something he says Biden's actions do not match with his words.
I was disappointed, quite frankly, because his rhetoric does not match his actions and his leadership. And so I, quite frankly, found it to be more of a speech from a politician than a leader. And I found it disconnected from reality as much as his policies have been disconnected from the real needs of the American people. I mean,
And Arrington also pointing to what he calls Biden's open border policy as keeping Americans and Texans unsafe. Arrington also saying that he wants Biden to drop his climate agenda that he says is undermining America's energy independence. All right, when we come back here on Big Country Politics, we analyze those races locally and statewide. And of course, State of the Union, Dr. Paul Fabrizio with McMurry University is in next to help break it down. We're back in 2 minutes.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
All right, March 1st was a big night. Dr. Paul Fabrizio, McMurry University, as always. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's go ahead. Let's start out with the election. Any surprises that you saw?
There really wasn't any surprises. There was, I would argue, a disappointment, but I expected to be disappointed, and that was the turnout. It turned out statewide, 17% turned out to vote. It was about 15% here locally. You know, this is the important election. Because we're a Republican-dominated state, the most contested elections are actually the primary elections, and we didn't have a great turnout. So that's disappointing.
What is the answer to getting people to care enough to be able to go and vote? What's that answer?
Yeah, nobody knows. Nobody knows. You know, part of it, I think, one of the problems is that we have elections so early in the year. And so candidates really can't do a lot of campaigning until January. And then, of course, the weather messes things up. So you often don't have a good period of time to go and get your people out and get your name out. So it's hard. We compress it to a short period of time. And so, you know, maybe if we could move the campaigns back, move the election day back to later in the spring. I mean, we were the first state in the country to have primary elections. Do we need to be first in this area?
Yeah.
I think to get better participation, I think we should move it back a little later.
So March to November is a long period, though.
It's a very long period of time. And admittedly, we have this system where there's runoffs. So we're going to have runoffs in the Attorney General's race and some land commissioners and railroad commission. We're going to have those runoffs, so you need time to do that. But even then, some other states have their primary in the summer or even early fall, and then have the general election, you know, in November.
Makes a lot of sense. And you know, I will point out that we did lose about a day, a little more than a day of early voting because of the weather, and that's what you mentioned.
Exactly. The weather is always an issue, unfortunately, for the wrong reasons in these things. So, you know, but that's how Texas does it. That's what political candidates deal with. So, you know, they're used to it. But it's just frustrating because this is the important elections for so many offices. Because simply we're a one-party state right now. So it's the primary that's the most important. And therefore, that's when people should be participating.
Yeah, it really decides it. In case in point with the Taylor County judge, with no Democratic challenger, this was the race.
This was a race, and it was a low-keyed race. And I'm not faulting the candidates in any way. They have to deal with the political environment as what it is. But we had bad weather. You know, last month we had bad weather during early voting. That interferes with the candidates' ability to go out and get their supporters out. So that all is very, very frustrating. You know, both candidates did a fine job, but still, not many people turned out to make that decision.
All right, let's start from the top, the race for governor. So we now know who our two folks will be on the ballot in November. So Abbott, what do you think about those numbers?
I was surprised actually how much support Abbott had. Remember, he had all these challengers coming from the right of the Republican Party. Greg Abbott moved right, became more conservative to handle that challenge. And the early polls showed that he was going to get maybe 61%. He ended up with 66, 67%. I mean, he got a landslide. He did so well. He won every single county in the state.
Wow.
So, you know, it's a convincing victory for Greg Abbott.
And Beto O'Rourke on the other side.
91% of the vote, I think, is what his total
wasn't a race too much on that side.
It really wasn't a race. His opponents were poorly funded. Beto O'Rourke has the name recognition from his challenge against Ted Cruz several years ago. So what we've got is a hot race coming up. But again, we have to remember, this is a Republican state. Republicans go in with a built-in advantage. So, and you look actually at the voting, Republicans and Democrats statewide, this election, as many Democrats voted as voted 4 years ago, in the midterm election 4 years ago. And we had 350,000 more Republicans voting in this election than 4 years ago. Excitement is with the Republicans. It's not with the Democrats. Beto O'Rourke, if he wants to win, he's going to have to figure out how to charge up Democrats, get them to the polls.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And of course, those candidates spending a lot of money. You saw the Republican candidates spending a lot of money. You saw the commercials even on KTAB.
Yes, indeed. And this is just the beginning. Greg Abbott has about $100 million in the bank. And Beto O'Rourke, I don't know how many millions he has, but he has shown an ability to get a lot of money quickly.
8 months, though. It's a long time. You can almost have a baby in that time period. All right, let's talk about the Attorney General's race. That was really another big race, right?
Yes.
Any surprises there?
Really, the only question on the Republican side was who was going to finish in second place. And so the news that George P. Bush is that person as opposed to Eva Guzman or Louis Gohmert gives anybody who finishes second a chance to win that race. But George P. Bush has to unite the other two candidates to support him. And word came out this morning that Louis Gohmert is not going to endorse George P. Bush. George P. Bush, unfortunately for him, has that last name Bush, which really doesn't sit well here in Texas now. 10 years ago it did, but now it doesn't. And so therefore he's made an effort, George P. has made an effort to go and be as conservative as he can and be friendly with Donald Trump. But to a lot of Texas voters, there's a lot of suspicion about him. So
very interesting. It's going to be interesting, and of course that going with the Democrats, we're going to have a big race in November.
Yeah, and
but the first, I guess, the runoff, which is in a couple weeks.
Yeah, the runoff's going to be on May 24th, and the Democrats also have a runoff too. They don't have a candidate yet, so this is not. I mean, you know, if you're looking at it in terms of just a contest, the Democrats are hurting themselves by having a runoff. They don't have one candidate. They have to have this additional fight that can get nasty before they choose who's going to go and confront whoever's going to be on the Republican side. And the Democrats to win need to be as united as possible.
Interesting. All right. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the State of the Union and just a couple more races. We'll be right back with Dr. Paul Fabrizio with McMurry. We'll be right back.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
All right, so May 24th is the day for that runoff election, right?
Yes, indeed. And early voting, I think, starts May 16th.
Okay, already.
And you know, city elections are May 7th.
Yes.
So there's 2 elections in May, folks.
It can get a little bit confusing. And you know, something that I have noticed is that for a lot of folks, it's been a long time since they've had a government class. And they don't really understand the primary system and how this is just who gets on one side and then it pushes forward. So there's still a lot of confusion out there too, so people often are confused, huh?
Yes, unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, they haven't all taken your classes.
No, and even then my students are confused too, so I'm sorry. You know, government is really easy, elections are really easy, but all the particulars of it can make it more complicated. And people have lives. You know, they don't devote themselves to politics.
Like you.
Like me. You're smart, folks.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. I want to switch gears just a little bit. Let's talk about the State of the Union. It was President Biden's first State of the Union. What are your thoughts on how did he do?
He had to be what he never intended to be, which is a wartime president. And even though we're not at war, the situation with Ukraine, Russia is so frightening that he has to act like a wartime president. So that affects everything that he did. But I look at it from the perspective of he is a president facing a midterm election. Historically, his party will do horribly in this election. Therefore, his poll numbers are really poor. So he has to reach out to voters, remind them of who he is, and sort of craft a new identity for himself. So what he did is he really made himself sort of a centrist president and said, look, I'm not going to talk about the progressive, the liberal agenda of those people in the Democratic Party who we won't even mention. He says, I am going to focus on infrastructure, on safe things to talk about. He didn't even use the word abortion in his talk despite the fact that Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court, is looking at possibly overturning it. He didn't use the word abortion once. So he's trying to craft a new identity as a centrist president between the extremes on his left in his own party and the extremists on the right in the Republican Party. And that's hard to do.
Now, the tone of the entire speech was not of celebratory means because of the Ukraine, and that was something I was reading. I think that they really had to start changing some of the speech because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't a celebratory time for his first one.
Yeah, and it wasn't what Bill Clinton called the yo-yo, where one side stood up, one side booed, cheered and booed. It wasn't really that much. It was a much more, there was a lot of applause, but there was a lot more unanimity in the applause. And that is partly because of the speech's construction. Biden tried to not shame the Republicans. He didn't talk about his left at all. He just tried to find common ground for people because he realized that's the only hope that the Democrats have to survive in this midterm election.
Very interesting. Talking about Ukraine and Russia, it's kind of been drawn out a little bit. I think by now everyone thought that there'd be some more action or something big happening, right? What do you think is ahead?
Oh,
I mean, no one knows, obviously.
Yeah, no one knows. The president of France had a phone conversation on Thursday with Vladimir Putin, and Macron reported at the end of the conversation that they are concerned about what lies ahead. They're really scared about what lies ahead. Putin seems focused on what he wants to accomplish, which is to control, to throttle, maybe even destroy Ukraine. So there's just pessimism all around. And at the same time, you look at the Russian forces and how they've done so far. They haven't moved with lightning speed. They really have done a horrible job. And that has been a real surprise to a lot of military analysts who expected much better performance on the part of the Russians.
Very interesting. Dr. Fabrizio McMurry, always a pleasure to speak with you and get your analysis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back here on BCP.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
Certainly a big week in politics. That does it for this week's edition of BCP. For the latest political headlines, you know where to go. That's bigcountryhomepage.com. From all of us here at KTAB, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.